Welcome to the Sales Lead Dog Podcast, hosted by CRM technology and sales process expert Christopher Smith, talking with sales leaders that have separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Listen to find out how the best of the best achieve success with their team and CRM technology. And remember, unless you are the lead dog, the view never changes.
Welcome to Sales Lead Dog. Today I have joining me sales expert and author Kay Miller. Kay, welcome to Sales Lead Dog.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Super
excited to have you here, Kay. Your book, Uncopyable Sales Secrets, available on Amazon. So be sure to check that out, get the book. And Kay, why did you write a book? Let's launch right in.
Why did I write a book? Well, years ago, when I went to college for marketing, I came out and I had, I thought I was going to be qualified for marketing. Well, guess what? I'm qualified for sales. So this is 1982. I think I've got a few years on you, and the job market was really tough. And so I ended up landing a sales job as the first woman ever hired for a company called Amerock, and it was cabinet builders hardware. Division of Anchor Hawking, which you might be, as a listener, familiar with. And I went on to, be very successful. And then because I was successful in a very male-dominated industry, I was hired by another company. I was not the first woman with this company, but I was one of very few. And it was very glamorous. I sold automotive mufflers and catalytic converters. So I was calling on distributors and, helping to pull, product through even to the auto repair shops and, just the mechanics. And so, it was really quite the experience as a young woman. You can imagine. My whole book is about being uncopyable. Well, it was a gift as well as a curse, of course, to be, a woman in that industry. Well, a few years later, after working really hard, I was awarded the top salesperson of the year, territory manager of the year is what they called it. So I had the highest sales in the nation among, a mostly male sales force. And I'll tell you, I never would, when I got out of college, I thought, I'm going to work for Procter & Gamble and sell beauty products. Never imagined myself kneeling, looking through old mufflers on a garage floor, trying to figure out which ones could be sent back for defects. So, but, I really loved it. I fell in love with sales. Most of the people I worked with, which were men, were very good to me. I, of course, have a few stories, but overall, they were just great. And so fast forward, my husband and I decided we're going to start a family. And at the time, both of us were traveling. And even though I had my territory was Washington State pretty much, but we went out of state a lot to help other territory managers with projects. And, I would bring them in for my territory too. So we were both traveling, and one of us had to stop if we're going to have a family, right? So Steve my husband had started his own business marketing company and speaking. So we thought, wouldn't this be great if we worked together? So I know this is kind of a long answer, but it was really a great deal because we only have one child. She's going to be 30. I can't believe it, but in a month, but she was a golfer and very active. She ended up playing golf in college. So I was really able to be part of her world and have the best of both worlds, because I worked with Steve as his, marketing and salesperson. So I'm basically pimping out my husband.
Well, there you go.
All that time. So meanwhile, Steve wrote some books. First, we were focused on the trade show market. Then he wrote this book called Uncopyable, and both our books are a mouthful. How to create an unfair advantage over your competition. That book is focused on marketing, branding, and innovation. So when that did so well, it became number one on Amazon. The publisher, between Steve and he, said, well, this would be great to apply this uncopyable philosophy to sales. Kay has this really strong sales background. So I wrote the book, and, it was really, well, I should say, I'm not going to lie. It was fun, but it was grueling.
Oh, I
It
bet.
was grueling.
I
And
bet.
so many people have said, oh, that's great, I should write a book. Just like people say, oh, I should be in business for myself. Right. And
Or
I'm
I
sure
should
you
learn to
heard
play the
that.
piano, or, something that's easy.
And I have a writing background. I did a lot of freelance writing here and there, parenting humor and stuff, but it's still really tough. But I'm very, very happy with the book. It's really resonated. And I do have the benefit of having so many stories. So my whole book is story point, including my foibles and, missteps, but also what it took, what I've done over the years in various positions to be a number one salesperson.
Yep. Now, what is different about your sales book versus the plethora of sales books that are out there? What makes your book unique?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that one of my answers, probably the biggest answer, is that I've heard it said that this is the most fun sales book you'll ever read. And there are so many sales books, and I've read all of them. Oh, I was a huge Brian Tracy fan, and all the big guns, right? I don't know that the information is really all that different. It's how it's explained, and I've got books that are, a lot of compilations, a lot of salespeople, with their, but it's kind of the platitudes and the, you should do this and you should do that. Whereas I tell a story for every point. So to help you remember it. So I think my book, does have some new information. So I'm not going to say that it's all the same stuff. But people might say, oh, I've read or heard this before. And what I like to do is challenge them and say, but do you do it?
Right.
Because, if you have kids, I know, Mom. Yes. Does that mean you're doing it?
Right.
You need reminders and encouragement and hearing things in new ways.
Yep. And that's so important, that it's not enough just to know about it or to read about it, but you got to do it. Right.
Exactly. Kind of like we all know what we should eat and how we should exercise, and we don't always do.
That's right. It's much easier to say, oh, I know what to eat and what to do, but yeah, the devil's in the details. Tell me about how you structured the book, because I think that's, when you create a book like this, I imagine you put a lot of thought into that. Can you walk us through how the book is structured?
I will. And I think my experience as a student helped me with this, because a lot of this is organization. And when you think about, I'm sure you're the same way, how are you so successful at what you do? You do it, and a lot of it you're on autopilot. But then if someone says, well, break it down and teach me and show me. So basically, this is a great tip for anyone who's putting something together: Post-it notes. In fact, I'm now developing a course based on the book, and my whole behind the scenes, I've got the whole wall lined with Post-it notes, which you do have to add tape to or they fall off. But, I really went through the book in sections, like what, mindset, fear, because I think anytime you're really pushing yourself, even if you're very experienced, when you're really going for the big fish and pushing yourself, there's some fear there. So I talk about the mindset, getting through fear. I talk about the uncopyable sales philosophy, which is really a win-win. Door-to-door sales people have sold me everything from cleaning supplies to, one time I was pregnant and I had really bad acid indigestion. This guy came and sold me a crate of grapefruit and oranges. And my husband's like, why did you buy that? I'm like, I don't know. But, they're one and done. It's gone. So the sales that we deal with, I'm sure everybody listening, is a relationship that you want them to buy more. You want them to buy again. You want them to refer people. So that is, I go through the attitude, but then I go through the actual strategies. One of them is, as we talked about just before the call, how to get in the door. We like to say it Uncopyable, look at what everyone else is doing and don't do it. Because if you want to get in the door and everyone else is reaching out on LinkedIn with an unsolicited message or emailing or cold calling, you have to be different. So I talk about getting in the door. and I do have a giveaway that we can talk about, and you'll hear about actual things that I've used and others have used. So then I go through the sales process finally to the closing, which in my book is actually a very short section, because it's not about the close. It's about getting to meet those needs till ideally the customer says, I want that. I need that.
Right. Right. I like how you structured it in terms of, or I really appreciated when I went through, you basically split the book into two sections. With section one are all the things that you need to do before you even make contact. And because
Exactly.
there's a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff you have to do in there. Can you break that down a little bit more for us?
Well, I think the mindset is really huge, because sales, is not only do you deal with the fear, but you deal with the rejection. Now, I don't really get into the logistics of how to fill your pipeline and, have prospects, but right now you can watch what I do, because I have a book that my publisher has invested in. And guess what the next step is? They want me to sell this book. So I am selling this book. And the way I'm doing that is to provide something that I hope will be very valuable. And, I'm really over delivering in that. And if people are interested, I will get them to what we call raise their hand. I've done cold calls. I'm actually pretty gutsy with it, but I don't like it. And I don't, it's not really the most effective way to sell. So it's much better to, get the interest of your prospect, define that. That's a huge part of it too, because opportunity cost means that for every moment you're spending on a prospect that isn't really a prospect, you're wasting time dealing with somebody who is. So really defining your market, who you want to do business with, and then getting them to raise their hand. And we call our target market in this uncopyable framework the moose. And you can see my big picture of the moose behind us, behind me. And all our clients, I have a mastermind, different groups. We, without even thinking about it, if we talk about, oh, we want to present this, or some promotion or some package, the first question we all say is, well, who's your moose? Before you know who your moose is, you can't really do anything.
Yeah, that's so true. One of the things I really liked about your book was the section on developing your personal brand. You hear a lot about developing your brand promises, and it's always from the perspective of the company or what you're selling. You took it deeper and went into your personal brand promise. Can you talk about that?
Well, yes, I can. And you'll notice I'm wearing orange, and all our books, all our products are orange. When we mail something, it's orange. So that is, really, it doesn't make me better necessarily, but it's memorable. It is so memorable that we have clients. In fact, I don't think I have it right here, but somebody just sent me a really nice pen. This is not it. This is a cheap old Sharpie, but a really nice orange rollerball pen, because they say when they think of orange, they think of Steve and me. And, one of my friends recently said, Kay, we've been friends since 7th grade. You don't look that great in orange. And I'm like, well, too late now.
That's right. We're committed.
Yeah, I'm committed. And, in the old days we had, oh, here is my pen. Hello, I have it.
Yeah,
There it is.
that's very
Engraved.
nice.
And so in the old days we had multiple colors. We thought, well, we're just going to go with one. We asked our daughter, Kelly, which one do you like? She said orange. We went with it. So that is a simple thing that I have encouraged people to do. You could, if you're crazy enough, pick a color and go big. My Apple Watch, I always have orange on. So it's a differentiator. And I told you I went to the speakers conference, and they said, if a client or customer of yours or prospect would describe you, what 3 words would they say about you that they couldn't say about anyone else? And I have those 3 words: moose, uncopyable, and orange. So that is my brand. Now, of course, I have some great stories in the book that, and of other people, as well as what I did to just really knock it out of the park. You'll read in the story about how I learned how to install a muffler, and I was, covered in sweat and oil and, welding mask, because I wanted to know what the customer was going through. I wanted to prove myself and show them I'm not just, some college kid that's just like, okay, I'm going to get this job. So they're your actions, but also I challenge you watching this to say, okay, what would be the 3 words that would describe me that wouldn't describe anyone else?
I love that, because it is all about standing out in a very big crowd. You mentioned, one of my pet peeves is LinkedIn engagement. It seemed to be the hot thing during COVID. And it just, there's the approaches, everything that I'm seeing there, it's the same. There's really nothing special about it or unique about it, or it's just noise.
Yeah, it is noise. And I did something just a few weeks ago that I'd like to share on LinkedIn. And I want to go bigger with this. It just kind of happened, but we wanted to get new blinds for our house. And I'm sure you've heard of Budget Blinds, the franchise. So I had seen signs in the neighborhood, and I called the Budget Blinds owner, and he came over. He was awesome. We ended up getting blinds for one level of our house, and he really was the least salesperson I think I've dealt with. He said, what is your budget? Because even though we say budget blinds, can work with a low budget, or of course what we went, the high budget.
Yep.
But he said, but I will give you the choices within your range, right? Well, when he was done, we were so happy. I called him. I said, we want blinds for the downstairs, and we want window treatments for the whole house. So he came back. He got a huge sale. Wonderful to work with. LinkedIn, here's where this ties in. I was wanting to write a testimonial and help him out. And also, I love to find stories about uncopyable salespeople. So I wrote an article on LinkedIn, and it's practically a love letter to he and his wife. And it's absolutely true. So I sent that, I sent it to him, and he said, can we share that with our social media? And in the article, I said, yes, what you did fits exactly what I talk about in chapter 3 of Uncopyable Sales. So he wants to share that with his network. I tagged Budget Blinds, so I'm getting all kinds of Budget Blinds people, other franchisees saying, this is great. And I'm going to still keep pushing this. So what do you think of that for using LinkedIn with a twist?
Oh yeah. That it's not about, you're not making it about you. You're making it about, someone else, but by doing that, it's just a different approach. It's about pulling people to you versus you chasing after people and saying, connect with me, and talk to me because I can help you and I can solve this problem. It's just, you're shifting everything on its head.
And it's still a win-win. I mean, I use the phrase win-win in the book, and I know that that's an old phrase, hackneyed phrase, but it's so true. I mean, I can help them, and I want to help them, and this will help me too because of my book is mentioned, and and I thought, who else can I look for in my business connections to say, gee, can I write you a book review? Instead of me always saying, will you write a book review? And then naturally, it's the reciprocation. You want to help people that help you, but it's also, like I said, it's just a win-win. So opposite to what you just described. I just hate that. I hate it when people reach out to say, oh, I noticed, and they have this little, blurb that they supposedly checked you out. And it's just, we hate that. If we hate it, everybody else is going to hate it too, right?
Oh yeah, and it's the same approach. We have some connections in common, so I thought I'd reach out. Who? It's like the people that knock on my door and say, hey, we're installing gutters at one of your neighbors, so we thought we'd stop by. And I'd love to just say, really, who? Yeah. And just have that blank, oh, it's a house over this way. I know everybody who, and it's like, come on, be authentic, be real, talk to me as a human.
Right. That's funny. We did, I think it was last summer, just get a blank mailing. We'll be in your neighborhood working on, whatever, cutting trees or whatever. And, I mean, if they send a mailer and get people to raise their hands, that might be their strategy, and that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's got to be authentic
Yeah.
because we can see through that. We're not idiots anymore. I don't know
Oh,
if we
yeah.
ever were. I probably
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's, I mean, like, you got to do the effort. You got to put things out there, but you also, there's no silver bullets. There's no magic wand you can wave. You have to do the hard work. And you talk about that, doing the hard work, and you kind of emphasize that throughout the book. Can you talk more about that perspective and how that developed in your own career?
Well, I mean, I think, gee, thinking back even to being a kid, I touch on a couple of the few of the entrepreneurial pursuits when I was a kid. Well, when we were kids, it wasn't the cushy lifestyle, right? I mean, my daughter is a millennial and she's like, I hate it when people say millennials are lazy, and she actually is a very hard worker. She works in outside sales for Maui Jim Sunglasses, calling on golf courses. So, you certainly cannot, generalization, generalize the generations. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
But, I think as a kid, I was a hard worker. I was, good kid. I got in some trouble here and there. Went to Washington State University, which is a huge party school. But I was just a hard worker. I have a good work ethic. And I remember I still, this is kind of weird because it's so long ago, but I still have the reviews that my bosses wrote for me years and years ago. And that was one of the things that they said. She's a good communicator and she has a really good work ethic. And, you just can't get ahead in life if you want to slack. So I just don't think anybody listening to this podcast, taking the time to want to learn and grow and be better. I know that anyone in your audience does want to work hard and they want to do well by the people they're serving. And so it's just really work ethic is important. Keeping your word. I talk a lot about trust building. And I can never get over the fact that when I call, sometimes people will say, thanks for getting back to me. In fact, and not only as a salesperson, but I have been, I'm on a lot of podcasts, and I had reached out to someone that, helps people get on podcasts. Well, I went with someone else, but a week ago or so, she emailed you. She said, we haven't talked. Are you still interested in this? And I responded right away. I said, as a matter of fact, I found someone else. Thanks for following up. That's a really good sign of a good salesperson. She was just amazed that I took the time to respond, and it took me 30 seconds. So,
right. No, I tell you, it's that's another way to stand out. I remember I was watching some sales training a while back, and they talked about the speed of response. That, if someone's reaching out to you, it's because they're expressing they need help, and the quicker you respond, that is a way to differentiate. And the person who was presenting shared a similar story where they were like, they made it their mantra. If someone was hitting them up on their website, they were going to respond within 30 minutes, if not sooner. Like, they wanted to respond right away. And more often than not, whoever submitted that request, when they actually started that conversation, they were like, I am amazed at how quickly you responded. You won't believe how many companies I've reached out to and I never heard from them.
That I know. I love that. That is great. And what an easy way. People are looking and looking, where can we get the advantage? And you're saying that it can be as simple as responding right away. And it doesn't even have to be, and here are the answers to all your questions. It could be, hey, I see you, I hear you. Same thing when you're shopping and the person working at the checkout stand just ignores you instead of just saying, hey, I'll be with you in a minute. That's huge. Just the little things.
Yeah. I was just saying, hey, how's your day going? Connecting on a human level before you start the pitch. That's another one of my pet peeves, where occasionally, if I know it's an answer call, I'll answer just because I want to hear the pitch and see how they do it and kind of critique. And I'm amazed how many times people just launch right into a pitch without asking a basic question of, is it okay if I take 5 minutes of your time, or, asking permission, or, trying to engage with me as a human. I'm going right in. I've got my little window. I'm going to take it, and I'm just going to start my pitch.
That's, I mean, and one way it might be to think about, would you ever do that to a friend or
Right.
even a client or is somebody you respected? No. So
Yeah.
no bueno.
Yep. Yeah. I heard a person I was talking to asked her to present at a learning event I was putting on, and she was really, really good about engaging over LinkedIn. And I asked her, I'm like, what is your strategy for engaging over LinkedIn? Because people generally suck at it. And her response was, I talk to them on LinkedIn as if like we're at a cocktail party and I'm just meeting them for the first time. I want to know who they are. I want to know their background. Where are they from? What are they interested in? Blah, blah, blah. I want to know who they engage with them as a person. And I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to rush into the sales pitch. It may take 3 weeks for me before we even get to the sales part of the deal. And usually it's the person I'm engaging with that brings it up, not me. And I'm like, that is brilliant. I mean, that's really, again, doing what you talk about here in the book, that it's really separating yourself and making it a win-win, making it about the relationship as opposed to the sale.
Exactly. And another saying that we like to say, my husband loves to say, his name is Steve Miller, by the way, not the rock star, Steve Miller. His books are awesome. And
he's your rock star, right?
He's my rock star. People say, is he the Steve Miller? I'm like, well, I think so. But, as far as what we're talking about there with, talking too much instead of listening or being interested, I think that's being brilliant at the basics, which Steve loves to say. But I also think fits under the category of things that we know, but we don't do. And sometimes we don't do that. And I understand, because as salespeople, we think our solution is just the best. It's fantastic. It might be that we really want, we think this person needs it. So it's not always because they're a schmuck and they want to cram it down your throat. It's just, we've got to be aware of, that human connection.
Oh yeah. It's people buying, right? And
Exactly.
so you got to connect at that human level. If there's 3 things you want people to take away from your book, what are those 3 things?
3 things. I
You
have
can
one.
expand
I
the
have
list
one
if you
all
need
ready
to.
to go here, and I think it's a great one. I'm going to start out with that because sometimes I get to 3 and I can't remember the third one. So one thing I mentioned kind of briefly in the book, but I think it's so powerful, and that is to call at least one or maybe more of your current customers and just say, hey, can you tell me in your words why you buy? Because they know your product is more expensive or takes longer to deliver, whatever the objections you might come across. They know all those things, but they decided to buy you anyway. So I think it's so worth, and people love to talk and teach and explain. And if you call a customer and say, will you tell me in your words why you buy from me? I think you'll get some just absolute gold. The second one is think about what your brand is. Can you come up with 1 or 2 or 3 words that would describe you that would not describe anyone else? We have a client we just love, and he's very quirky, and he is a ketchup fanatic. He is known for going to Ruth's Chris, and they have to get it poured in a bowl, so it's all fancy. He's got this little quirky thing that he kind of runs with, and he'll send keychains with ketchup bottles on it and different things. So it doesn't always have to be, oh, listen to the time that I, walked across broken glass to deliver my product. It can be something quirky and memorable. And then the last one, which I'm a talker. I know how hard this is. And, podcasts are fun because I actually get to talk. But listen, especially when you're negotiating, when you're giving someone to think about, don't be afraid of silence. Don't be afraid of silence. I mean, when we introed this podcast, you said we're going to be quiet for 5 seconds. That seems like a long time, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
So, but people can be thinking, and don't buy it back. Don't buy back the sale. Think, listen, and don't be afraid of silence.
That is my personal struggle. My personal demon is silence in the sales process. That's where the anxiety comes in, the fear comes in. because what are they thinking? There's all
Right.
this stuff. There's a lot you can do with your brain in that little period of silence.
Yes.
How did you overcome that as in your career as a salesperson?
Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I still haven't. I still haven't totally overcome it. Knowing, like I said, knowing is part of it. Doing is different. I'm not perfect, and for anybody listening, if you think I am a perfect salesperson, even when I got to be number one, oh my gosh, I had disasters and fixing things and getting up in the middle of the night to chase trucks down. It's just, that's why I love the people that are in your audience who want to learn and read and be reminded, because we all have a long way to go, I think, including me. So I'm not there yet. I'm better and better and better. And if I live to be 100, I might be really good.
Let's squeeze one more topic in here, failure. You talk about failure in the book, and that it's an essential component. It's not one we like as salespeople, but it's part of being a salesperson is failure. Can you talk about failure?
Well, I mean, there are so many motivational quotes. I think I use Michael Jordan, you don't hit any of the shots that you don't take. Failure is definitely part of success. And the more you can raise your tolerance for failure, the more you'll succeed. It's a numbers game. And so, I've got a lot of tactics or strategies I use in the book, like affirmations. Music for me is huge. I do yoga, Pilates, things to get my mindset right. But, there's also a very famous book, Go for No. Every no you get takes you closer to yes. So if you want to read my book and I can dive into what has helped me, even taking, risks and feeling strong in the rest of your life. Like I say, I work out, I do things that just keep me feeling good about myself, because sales is lonely. Even if you're in a company like I was, these people are your competitors, right? So it's a solo endeavor for most people. So you just have to wrap your head around it and say, you know what? The more no's I get, the more yeses I'll get. Got to play the long game.
That's right. I like that. Kay, I really appreciate you coming on Sales Lead Dog. The book, Uncopyable Sales Secrets, available on Amazon.
Yes, wherever books are sold.
Wherever books are sold. If people want to reach out and connect with you, Kay, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, my email is kay@uncopyablesales.com. So email me anytime. I don't know if I can get back to you in 30 minutes, but I'll tell you what, it'll be less than 24 hours.
That's awesome. Let's talk about the special offer for Sales Lead Dog listeners.
Yes, I put together a giveaway and I pulled some information from the book. I added some, I put in a whole bunch of pictures and examples that I've actually used. One thing I say is send a greeting. I should say the whole subject of this giveaway is how to get in the door. And unless you get in the door, you can't make a sale. You've got to get their attention. So I give actual examples of things you can do. I'll give one right now, is send a greeting card, which is very inexpensive, but I have a special twist on that. I explain more and have, actual examples, photos of examples in that. So I really think it's action, it's really packed with things that you can use. So I hope you get that. Chris will provide the link.
Yep. So be sure to check out the show notes. We'll have all that information there. You can get that special offer at impellercrm.com/sales lead dog. You'll find Kay's episode along with all our other episodes of Sales Lead Dog. So be sure to check that out. Kay, thank you for coming on Sales Lead Dog and welcome to the pack.
Oh, thank you so much. I love dogs, by the way. We don't have any currently, but I love dogs. So thank you so much. And thank you to all your listeners and viewers. I really wish you all the best in your sales endeavors.
And go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
As we end this discussion on Sales Lead Dog, be sure to subscribe to catch all our episodes. On social media, follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Watch the videos on YouTube, and you can also find our episodes on our website at impellercrm.com/Sales Lead Dog. Sales Lead Dog is supported by Impeller CRM. delivering objectively better CRM for business, guaranteed.